What's going on, everybody? I'm Brian, and welcome to the WBRG BTV, Brian's Technical Videos, where we work on customer bikes, show you step by step what needs to be done. If you're wanting to get your bike worked on here at BTV, top link below. Let's get to work. Welcome everyone to the garage. Today we have a 2015 Kawasaki Versys 650. We're going to be replacing the chain and sprockets on this machine. It's got about 20,000 miles on it. You can see the link for where we purchased our parts down below. We've got some work to do. You ready to go, guys? Let's go. We're going to remove some plastic here just to get a better view of what we got going on. Okay, so this is our speedo pickup. We need to pull that out of the way. All right, we need to unstake the safety here. So I don't know if you could see this on this nut, but there are two stages in here, and I'm going to use this first stage. Fits my 27 millimeter quite nicely. We want to make sure that we crack this loose before we take the chain off, before we pick the rear of the bike up in the air, because we want to use the traction of the rear tire to hold the rear wheel still while we remove this nut. You don't want to use the transmission, especially if you're going to be using an impact. So we're just... Ooh, it's on there. From here, we need to loosen the rear axle, slide the wheel forward, give us a little bit more slack to our chain so we can put the new one on as short as we can get it. So. Okay. So the axle is spinning, so I can't crack it loose. I gotta hold the other side. There we go. So we just have the weight off of the wheel. All right, we have the front sprocket nut loose. We have the axle loose. Now we can disconnect the chain and roll it off, and then remove the rear wheel to replace the rear sprocket. This is our chain. When you have a chain that's really, really bad shape, when you lay it on its side like this, the bow is much more severe. This is actually in really good shape, but it's got lots of miles on it. Our sprocket's starting to show some wear, so we are going to swap this out for our friend here and give him a fresh set of chain and sprockets to continue his journey with. Okay, old sprockets off, new sprockets on. Before I reinstall the nuts, clean the studs, put a little Loctite on them, and tighten them down. We have our new sprocket on, we have our wheel slid in between the swing arm, all of our spacers are lined up. Brake caliper and mount is located in its position. I'm just going to re-grease our axle. Now, my spacer here stayed on the axle, but if yours doesn't come off, make sure that you put the block back in with these little grooves facing out, because they correspond with the dashes on your swing arm to help make sure that your rear wheel is straight. Fresh grease on the threads. Put our block first. Washer, castle nut. Now the fun part is our chain. So we're going to slide the wheel as far forward as we can. Drop the jack a little bit, and that'll hold the wheel all the way forward. All right, here's our new front sprocket. We've already got this loose. The lock washer and sprocket. There you go. You can see this sprocket's got some definite wear in it, and it's about time. Fresh grease on the splines and threads where the sprocket and nut goes. Sprocket. The lock washer. Nut. Now we're just going to turn this down so it holds this washer in place so it doesn't fall off. We're not going to tighten anything yet until we get the chain on. Rear wheel is set, front sprocket is set. Time for the chain. Here's our master link. And oh, that's sad. So our chain came with a clip link and not a rivet link, which is still okay. They ran clip links forever, but I'm a fan of the rivet link style, but okay, so as you can see, if I were to cut the chain here, it wouldn't actually meet the link. So I'm going to have to give it one more, and we'll cut it here, and then this will be our master link connection. So the way that we're going to cut this link off is pretty much the same way we cut the chain off of the bike in the first place. We're going to grind these two little rivet pins off and then knock that link off. So I took the link, I put the X-rings on with a little bit of this wax or grease that they give you in your chain kit. Now the next X-ring goes on, and I'm just gonna smear a little bit of this on the other side of the X-ring. Now our link goes on. All right, now that it's staying, grab our chain press. So it's just gonna compress this link until the pins protrude just into that gap, and that should give us just enough room to put the locking clip back on. So get that set on there until you feel it get just a little snug. We'll take a look, see if it's pressed in there far enough. Not quite. We'll go a little further. There we go. Okay, so what I wound up doing is just using the face of this right on the face of the link in between the two pivots and just compressing it enough that we could see the groove in here now. And that is where our little clip hooks in. Make sure everything's ready to get into the groove. Take a nice big flathead screwdriver and just give it a pop. From here, we are going to lower the bike the rest of the way, put the weight of the machine on the rear tire so we can set the chain slack. All right, obviously that's a lot. All right, so we need to take some of this out and give it a nice even amount of chain slack. So we have our dash set on our third line and as far forward touching that third line as we possibly can on both sides. We have a nice amount of chain slack in our chain here. So what we want to do now is we want to lock our adjusters in place. Okay. And there's our slack, nice. And now we can go ahead and torque our axle. All right, axle's tight, cotter pin's in. We need to tighten our adjusters. We need to tighten our front sprocket nut and peen over the lock ring. So get these snug first. Okay, now we put our speedo pickup back in again. Snug those down. Okay, nothing too crazy. So now front sprocket cover goes back on. Frame cover goes on. Last but not least, we are going to set the tire pressures. It looks dead on. All right, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls. It is a 2015 Kawasaki Versys with a brand new chain and sprockets on it. Everything's torqued, adjusted, cotter pinned, tire pressures are set. I'm going to clean it up a little bit and put a little safety wire on this clip and we'll be ready to roll. We are now finished with our 2015 Kawasaki Versys. Brand new drive chain, front and rear sprockets. Everything is set to go. We're going to roll it off the lift, take it down the road, and give it back to our buddy here so he can enjoy his day. You guys have a great one.